Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. Washington Commanders fans woke up on Monday morning buzzing with speculation after the team announced a surprising addition to their roster that could have ripple effects across the offensive line. Adam Peters, the general manager known for his analytical approach and willingness to shake up the depth chart, made a decisive move following a disappointing preseason showing against the Cincinnati Bengals. In what many insiders are already calling a bold yet risky maneuver, veteran offensive tackle George Fant was signed to a one-year deal after a private workout that reportedly impressed the coaching staff. While Fant brings experience and versatility, whispers around the locker room suggest that his arrival may not only shake up projected starters, but also raise questions about the health and readiness of younger players who were expected to step into key roles. The timing of this signing, coming just days before the regular season opener, has sparked endless speculation among analysts and fans alike. The decision to bring in Fant was influenced heavily by the injury uncertainty surrounding the Commanders' offensive line. Sam Cosmi, the talented right guard, is still recovering from a torn ACL, and while head coach Dan Quinn hasn't closed the door on him playing in Week 1, insiders suggest it's far more likely that Cosmi will begin the season on the physically unable to perform list. Brandon Coleman, projected as the starting left guard, adds another layer of mystery, having left training camp early with an injury that hasn't yet been fully disclosed. In this context, Fant's presence appears to serve as a hedge against multiple potential vulnerabilities, a security blanket designed to prevent a cascading collapse of an already fragile line. The rumors swirling among reporters and league insiders suggest that Peters' move was as much about safeguarding the quarterback as it was about shoring up team morale, signaling that the Commanders are playing both a chess and poker game with their roster. George Fant's career trajectory is as unconventional as it is inspiring, rising from undrafted obscurity to a dependable NFL starter with over 75 career starts to his name. Despite only appearing in 2 games for the Seattle Seahawks last season, his experience in handling multiple tackle positions gives him a strategic advantage in filling in where needed. Sources familiar with the team's internal discussions hint that Peters and offensive line coach Bobby Johnson view Fant as more than just a backup. He's a versatile piece that could slot in at a moment's notice depending on how the season unfolds. The narrative inside the building is that Fant brings both stability and insurance, but the rumor mill has begun churning over whether his presence will also limit opportunities for younger linemen, potentially creating tension as the team seeks to blend experience with emerging talent. Fans are divided, with some praising the move as smart risk management and others questioning whether it signals deeper problems within the Commanders' offensive strategy. While Fant's arrival addresses immediate concerns, the domino effect on other players is already the subject of endless speculation. If Brandon Coleman cannot return quickly from his unknown ailment, insiders suggest the Commanders could be forced to adjust their starting lineup in ways previously unimagined. Nick Allegretti might slide into the left guard spot, while Andrew Wiley could shift inside to the right, turning Fant into the emergency swing tackle capable of filling gaps wherever necessary. Analysts are quietly debating whether this patchwork approach could undermine offensive cohesion early in the season, particularly with a young quarterback like Jayden Daniels depending on consistent protection. The chatter in training rooms and media circles suggests that these moves, while practical on paper, carry significant risk if players are not on the same page or lack game-ready reps together. Fantasy football managers and diehard fans alike are dissecting every tweet and press release for hints on how these line shifts could influence both short-term success and long-term development. Adding Fant also raises questions about the psychological impact on the existing roster. Rumors indicate that some younger linemen may feel their roles are under threat, while others reportedly see the veteran as a mentor who can elevate the entire group. Bobby Johnson's coaching philosophy emphasizes adaptability and mental toughness, but sources close to the team suggest the integration of Fant could either galvanize the line or create a subtle friction if communication and chemistry aren't perfected immediately. League insiders are already speculating that opponents will study these shifts closely, trying to exploit any early season disorganization. With Jayden Daniels' performance tightly linked to the offensive line's consistency, Even small misalignments could have outsized effects on game outcomes. The buzz around Washington has grown to a level where every practice update and cryptic quote is scrutinized as potential proof of how this gamble will unfold. Off the field, the Commanders' management appears determined to present a united front, but the murmurs are impossible to ignore. Fans and pundits are already debating whether signing Fant signals a lack of faith in Cosmi and Coleman or merely acts as an insurance policy for a high-stakes season. Some insiders hint at heated meetings behind closed doors as Peters, Quinn, and Johnson hash out potential scenarios for Week 1 and beyond. The narrative being quietly circulated in locker rooms is that the team wants to avoid a repeat of last year's missteps, where inconsistent line play undermined otherwise solid quarterback performance. Meanwhile, social media is alive with speculation, with every post and story being analyzed for hints about line chemistry, player health, and possible starting rotations. The rumor mill has never been this active, blending official updates with whispers from unnamed sources to create an almost cinematic level of intrigue around a seemingly routine roster move. The discussion extends to how the Commanders might manage game day adjustments if injuries strike mid-contest. Sources suggest that having Fant available gives the coaching staff flexibility rarely seen in other teams, allowing for rapid reshuffling without a catastrophic drop in protection quality. Analysts are theorizing multiple scenarios where Fant could start on either side of the line, depending on health developments in practice or even during a live game. The speculation also touches on how these moves might affect Daniels' decision-making in the pocket, whether he will feel more confident knowing Fant is available or whether constant shuffling could increase mental pressure. The intricate web of rumor, strategy, and contingency planning around this one signing has captured the attention of the league, and the Commanders' season narrative is suddenly framed around one player who, on paper, was not expected to make this level of impact. Even veteran observers admit that the ripple effects of this signing are hard to fully gauge. Fant's reliability and experience are undeniable, but the question being quietly asked in locker rooms is whether he can do more than simply plug gaps. Sources suggest that if Coleman and Cosmi miss significant time, Fant's presence could be stretched beyond what was initially intended. Meanwhile, other backups like Tyre Phillips and Foster Sarl are being closely watched, with insiders debating if the team's depth is truly sufficient for the grueling demands of a full NFL season. Rumors suggest that Peters is already thinking ahead to trade possibilities or additional signings, anticipating that the offensive line situation could evolve dramatically in the first few weeks. Fans are following every hint with bated breath, dissecting rumors as if they were official press releases. The ripple effects extend beyond the offensive line to the team's overarching strategy. Analysts are speculating that the Commanders may adopt quicker passes or more rollouts for Daniels to mitigate potential vulnerabilities in protection. Insiders whisper about late-night meetings where coordinators brainstorm different blocking schemes and quick-read plays designed to complement Fant's versatility while accounting for the unknown status of Coleman and Cosmi. The narrative being spread among fans is that the line's cohesion will be the defining storyline of the season, and that every snap could influence playoff hopes. Observers outside the organization are calling it a calculated gamble, blending a mix of risk management and opportunistic reinforcement that only adds fuel to the swirling rumor mill. Every practice, every press conference is now scrutinized as if the Commanders' offensive line was the league's most sensitive mystery. Ultimately, the addition of George Fant has generated a whirlwind of speculation that few anticipated. While Peters has positioned the team with a safety net in case injuries strike, the broader implications for line chemistry, player development, and the team's mental dynamics are far from settled. Rumors abound that internal debates are ongoing, with varying opinions about how Fant's role should evolve as the season unfolds. Some sources suggest he could become a stabilizing presence, while others whisper about potential clashes with young linemen hungry to prove themselves. Regardless of the ultimate outcome, this signing has transformed a routine roster adjustment into a narrative filled with intrigue, tension, and anticipation, leaving fans and analysts alike eagerly awaiting the first snap to see whether Washington's gamble pays off or exposes hidden vulnerabilities. The Commanders now enter the 2025 campaign under a cloud of rumor, excitement, and speculation, all centered around a single signing that has redefined expectations for one of the league's most critical units. Bobby Johnson faces the task of melding veterans and younger players into a seamless front capable of protecting Jaden Daniels and executing a championship-caliber offense. Observers are already framing this as a litmus test for both coaching and roster construction, debating whether adaptability, versatility, and depth can truly overcome the lingering questions surrounding injuries and experience. Social media, sports talk radio, and insider newsletters are ablaze with theories, each one building upon the last, crafting a narrative that has shifted from tentative roster news into a full-blown saga that could define Washington's season. As the rumors persist, one thing is clear: every week will be under a microscope, and George Fant's role may prove to be the linchpin that determines whether the Commanders flourish or falter. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Whispers are starting to circulate around the league, and Washington Commanders fans have every reason to pay attention. The name on everyone's lips right now isn't one of the usual superstars or veterans, but rather Tay Martin, the wide receiver who quietly turned heads throughout the entire preseason. Observers who followed every snap noticed the consistency, the sharp routes, and the willingness to fight for contested catches, all traits that are not always evident in a player trying to carve out a place on an NFL roster. With all the talk surrounding depth chart battles and tough decisions, the Commanders' coaching staff surprised some people by making it official. Tay Martin has secured his spot, and the way it happened feels less like a routine transaction and more like the spark of a story that fans might be talking about weeks, months, or even years down the line if his growth continues. What makes this development even juicier is the way it contrasts with preseason expectations. Heading into training camp, very few analysts had Martin on their projected final roster. At best, he was labeled as a practice squad candidate, someone who might hang around on the fringes of the team and get a chance only if injuries piled up. But instead of accepting that background role, Martin stepped onto the field with energy, drive, and an almost unshakable determination to prove he belonged. In every game he played, he displayed a knack for making the kinds of plays that don't always show up in highlight reels, but get noticed by coaches reviewing film at midnight. The extra effort on blocking assignments, the ability to read coverage and adjust routes, the precise footwork near the sideline, all of it combined to create a picture of a receiver who may not just be surviving, but could eventually thrive. Fans have been quick to seize on the narrative, and social media has erupted with speculation about how Martin might fit into the offensive scheme. Some claim he could become a reliable possession receiver, the type who moves the chains on crucial third downs. Others see flashes of potential as a red zone option, someone who can use his frame and timing to outmuscle defenders for contested catches in tight spaces. Of course, the realistic perspective reminds everyone that preseason heroics don't always translate to regular season success, but the intrigue lies precisely in that uncertainty. The Commanders are in a period where they're searching for new offensive identities and consistent weapons, so the thought of an overlooked player emerging at just the right time adds to the buzz. It's the kind of rumor that fuels debates in podcasts, call-in shows, and YouTube breakdowns for days on end. Inside the locker room, teammates have reportedly taken notice as well. Veterans have praised Martin's work ethic, commenting on how he stays after practice for extra reps and never shies away from asking questions. There's a contagious energy about players like him, a reminder that hunger can sometimes be as valuable as raw talent. Coaches, too, have let slip subtle hints in press conferences, describing him as coachable, reliable, and competitive. None of those terms guarantee a starring role, but they all suggest that Martin is viewed as more than just another depth piece. For a young player, the key is earning trust, and early signs point to him doing exactly that. When you hear defensive backs mention that he's tougher to cover than they expected, or when coordinators note how he keeps forcing his way into rotation plans, you realize something interesting is brewing behind the scenes. There's also a fascinating psychological element to this storyline. Every roster bubble player enters preseason knowing the odds are stacked, and many crumble under that pressure, trying too hard to make the highlight catch or overcompensating on assignments. Martin, however, seemed to approach every opportunity with calm confidence. He didn't force plays. Instead, he let the game come to him. That maturity is unusual for someone in his situation, and it hints at a mindset that could serve him well when the stakes rise in the regular season. Fans love an underdog, but coaches love consistency even more, and Martin managed to deliver both. His case demonstrates that preparation and mental toughness can sometimes outshine draft status or raw measurables. That's why insiders whisper about him not only as a roster filler, but potentially as a piece who can shift dynamics if given the right moments. As with any rumor that gains traction, skeptics are quick to chime in. Some argue that Martin's preseason stats, while solid, didn't exactly scream breakout star. They caution fans against reading too much into August performances, which often come against second or third-string defenders. Others point out that roster security in Week 1 doesn't guarantee long-term stability. The NFL is ruthless, and opportunities can vanish as quickly as they appear. Yet, even those skeptics admit there's something about Martin's approach that makes him hard to dismiss. The eye test matters, and he passed it repeatedly. It's the body language, the crisp execution, the quiet belief that he belongs. Those elements aren't measurable on a stat sheet, but often serve as indicators of future impact. The tension between hype and caution is exactly what keeps fans glued to developments like this one. Another layer to this evolving story is the broader context of the Commanders' offensive landscape. With questions surrounding quarterback play, offensive line protection, and the search for reliable weapons behind the primary stars, Martin's emergence could not have been timed better. The coaching staff craves dependable targets who can execute the game plan without costly mistakes. In that sense, Martin isn't just a feel-good story. He represents potential stability in an offense that has been searching for rhythm. When an unexpected player rises, it forces defenses to adjust, and that ripple effect can create openings for others. Imagine a scenario where opposing coordinators have to account for Martin's presence, even if only as a secondary threat. That changes dynamics and buys time for teammates. That's why whispers about his impact extend beyond just his personal journey. They hint at potential shifts in how the Commanders attack. The fanbase has embraced the development with enthusiasm, almost as if they've collectively decided to champion Martin as their new underdog hero. Jerseys with his number are starting to pop up in training camp photos, and highlight compilations circulate online with dramatic music overlays, painting him as the surprise savior. This kind of grassroots hype doesn't always happen for roster bubble players, which makes it even more notable. The bond between player and fans can accelerate momentum, creating an environment where coaches feel pressure to keep giving opportunities. That feedback loop, player earns spot, fans cheer louder, coaches reward effort, can sometimes turn a small spark into a larger flame. While it remains to be seen if Martin will maintain that trajectory, the current atmosphere is undeniably electric. For a franchise that has often struggled with identity, having a fresh story that energizes supporters is invaluable. What's particularly fascinating is how other teams in the league might be viewing this situation. Rival scouts and analysts watch preseason tape too, and they notice when a player outperforms expectations. If Martin continues to progress, it wouldn't be shocking to hear whispers that other teams would have been interested had he not stuck in Washington. That kind of outside validation can only boost confidence, both for the player and the franchise. It suggests that the Commanders may have unearthed a hidden gem while others overlooked him. Stories like this often become reminders of how unpredictable the NFL can be, where one training camp battle changes a career and potentially impacts the trajectory of a team's season. It's the drama, the unpredictability, and the hope for a breakthrough that makes the rumor mill spin endlessly and keeps fans endlessly debating what might come next. Ultimately, the story of Tay Martin's roster spot feels bigger than just one transaction. It's about the thrill of watching someone defy odds, the excitement of seeing a new narrative form, and the curiosity about what comes next. Fans are buzzing because they sense possibility, the possibility that a young receiver with little fanfare could grow into a key contributor. Whether he becomes a starter, a role player, or simply a steady presence on special teams, his journey resonates with the larger themes that make football so captivating. Every team needs its stars, but every fanbase loves its surprises. And right now, Tay Martin represents that surprise for Washington. The rumor, the chatter, the whisper behind the scenes. It all points to one truth. The commanders may have stumbled upon something special, and the coming weeks will reveal just how real this buzz truly is. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the commanders' news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the commanders.